Should Recombinators go core? Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Recombinators. They have not yet been announced if they're going core or not, like if they're going to continue being in the base game and eventually go to standard. That's what we're going to talk about in the video, like pros and cons and stuff like that. And there is the gauntlet starting on Friday, so if that's something you want to support, we have t-shirts you can buy to support the casters and stuff like that if you do like the bloodshed. So Recombinators came with Sentinel League, and it's most likely the probably at least the most accessible crafting we've ever had, maybe the most powerful. Obviously, there would be a competition between Harvest and this, but this is a lot more accessible for new players because a lot of people were just using the Reforges and didn't really fully understand how to use the Recombinators, whereas I've had so many new players said that this was really great for them because they can identify one or two good stats and items and just smash them together, hoping to get an even better item. So that's been really, really good, I feel. And what I really like about Recombinators, personally, to start it off, is on Harvest, it tells you you're crafting now. You find a harvest field, you're crafting now. You don't want to craft, that's too bad, then you're missing out. Whereas Recombinators, you find them and you can do a crafting session later. And you can just stack away items that are good for using with Recombinators and use them whenever you feel like. Recombinators have so many uses, and I'll explain a little bit why they're strong. So I have a tab here with like, this is items just for Recombinators. So I'm keeping like incursion mods, like Gravicious from the Unveils. I'm keeping Grasping Mail mods. I'm keeping things like What's the Lead Seas, and just loads of things like that. Plus gem level scepters, or sorry, staffs. And there's so many things. And I'm keeping talismans because you can move stats onto a talisman. So let's say like this is like a usable amulet, right? And now the thing that's cool about talismans, for example, is they can keep the base. So now it kept the base, and I'm just hoping it'll get the 79 life. And just like that, I have a pretty good amulet, right? Especially if this is something that has a really good annoyance that I already like. That's great. If not, I can just change that by getting one of the corruption annoyances. But now I have a pretty strong amulet here, especially early game. And there's just so much strong stuff with this. And now we can look at some insane gear. This is my Saboteur that I made borderline perfect gear for. So for example, here we have, and this is solo self-on, by the way. It's still on solo self-on. Here we have 67 spell damage with the, this is the Lithomancer. Sorry, it's a Chosen. So it's a incursion mod. So it's spell damage, and non-chaos is extra chaos. So on top of that, it has +2. So what I had here, I had one with Chosen and +1 spell, which was really cool. And then I had another, which was Lithomancer, the +1 physical spell, and then it had the chance to poison. And then I just combined those together, and I hit most of the mods I wanted. Obviously, I had to choose between the spell damage and the trap damage, but this like shows you how insane items you can make in Soul Self-On. A lot of people were using it to get spell suppression, like tier 1 spell suppression on shields like this. I didn't need it, but I made this instead. And these were really easy to make, right? Because just getting +3 max res, a decent suffix, and 8% fish reduction, very, very easy to just complete the suffixes. And then with both harvest and things like suffixes cannot be changed, it was so easy to do the prefixes after. So in this case, I would do suffixes cannot be changed, reforged life until I got a life roll and open prefix that I'm happy with. And then I Hunter Exalted for a guaranteed percentage maximum life. They also had special mods like this one, Sentinels. Magic Utility Flask have a 25% increased effect. So they had a, I think it's a 1 in 50 or 1 in 100 chance to appear whenever you're recombinating something. But as you can see, insanely strong gear. And I don't think I've ever had as much fun in a league. I think this is my new favorite league of all time. And I would attribute a large part of that to Recombinators. So I've shown you some of the items I've made now in Soul Self-On. So we can talk a little bit about the pros and cons. So first, let's talk about the pros. It's very fun. It's a very fun way of crafting. It creates a good item sync for bases. Like, before, you would only need like 1 or 2 item level 86 items, and you would just craft on those until you hit whatever you were wanting to hit. Now, I think I must have picked up like even just 50, 60 dragon scale chests item level 86 because I was like, well, I'm going to need every 86 I can get on Soul Safan because I want to do so much crafting, right? And same with so many bases. I've just been picking up loads, and that's really good. Bases have a purpose. So if you also made bases slightly rarer, they would have value again. Now, they don't need to have a value. I personally enjoy that back in the day where item level 83 vault axes were 15 to 25 chaos. But you don't need that. But either way, this does give them some more intrinsic value, which is great. You also have that you're looking for stats like half finished items, which we also had in Harvest League, and I thought was really cool. In Harvest, it would be really cool to find an item with perfect suffixes, and you would be able to finish the prefixes with Harvest and augmenting and stuff. We don't have that anymore, but it is really good now to find items with perfect suffixes or perfect prefixes or just some really rare stats. Like finding any amulet with +1 spell skill gems now is incredibly strong. So I really like that. I like the way it changes the way I look at the game. It is also incredibly powerful items, but that is also a downside because power creep is very scary and hard to contain in a game. On top of that, from talking to new players, this seems more accessible than other ways of crafting because they'll just throw two good items together and hope for the best. There's not as much depth to these systems as there was to other systems. With a lot of ways of crafting Path of Exile, you end up sitting there with spreadsheets and very complicated ways of crafting that new players are just not going to understand and are going to give up on. Whereas without understanding anything, you can just smash two items together and just go, I made a good item. And I had so many players, more than ever before, that are new players link me items they were really excited about. And yeah, I think that's really good. Another positive thing, special things like talismans and grasping mails and corrupted things go up. And a really cool thing was the new amulet from like the Shrek boss, the Pooh boss, and the Black Star. That has the amulet, right? That Waggle made. Well, sometimes that can have really good implicits. You could break that into a rare item and then use it for recombinators. So you could get an amulet with implicits like 2% max res and 9% restoration, and then craft good things on it. That is like the main positive things, and it's just incredibly fun. As far as downsides go, this will be a good thing for some people too, but one bad thing is that it does devalue some of the gear at the top, which is for a lot of people struggle with having something to chase in Path of Exile, right? People that are no lifers with a lot of hours, they also want something to chase. Like, oh my god, I finally finished that item. And if you get that too easily, you know, the chase ends a little bit too soon. You end up quitting earlier. Obviously, a lot of people will have that with things like Mage Blood or Headhunter, where they finally get it. They play it for like 3 days, 5 days, and then they're like, I don't really have anything else to go for now. So it just depends on what kind of player you are. But for a lot of people, that can be a bad thing. I didn't feel like that was a problem on Solo Self-Fun. I could see it being a problem on Trade League, but at least on SSF, I was just having so much fun making batshit crazy items and feeling very powerful. So I enjoyed it quite a lot, but I can see that being a downside for some. Making Recombinators core limits the future of crafting because if you add anything to the game, it always just becomes Recombinator meat. Unless you have something that just can't be recombinated, but that feels kind of forced. It's a very hard decision, I think. I think there's way more reasons to keep them, but I definitely understand if GDD feel like they're too powerful. And I think that's the beauty of the league system. And I honestly do believe that they can try anything for a league and remove it, and there shouldn't be much um, people being upset and mad. And people will now probably be like, well, what about Harvest? And I feel like when Harvest first went away, there wasn't much of an uproar until they put it back in core at full power and then nerfed it. So I do feel like they do have a lot of room to experiment and play around with whether they're going to keep it or not. And I'd be okay either way. I would prefer if it stayed, but had an absolute blast with Sentinel League. My favorite league of all time. So hope you guys are enjoying the video. Thanks for watching. Sub if you like it, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.